Hello and welcome to the Ballcard Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
I'm Jason Otero.
And I'm Gary LeMaster.
This is season 6, episode 17. We're coming up on summer. My kids are doing the countdown. It's hot out. The grass is growing again.
The grass is horrendous.
I got the hookup this year.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got in-laws that like to do labor.
Is it forced upon my in-laws to mow the lawn? We'll never know.
They're excited about it. I've never seen anything like it. Bob and Don are like,
I love doing that stuff. They
do.
They had a pretty good sized property they took care of way back in the day when I was dating my wife. I think they like the artwork, so they've been asking a little bit, and I'm like, man, the neighbors are just going to see
elder abuse
in the yard. I'm in here he's just in there looking at baseball cards in his office, and
these old folks are out here mowing the grass in 80-degree weather. What's going on?
Oh shoot,
oh, that's funny.
I did beef up. Like, this is a 40-year-old flex. We went to an e-mower. We went to a battery mower.
Been there.
And we got a nice one. Came with a second battery so you can mow the whole yard. That's where they get you.
80-watt battery?
Gary, I don't do this. I know that one says 75 minutes and one says 50. And combined to give me about 65.
We went to that mower a while back. Now, here's where that mower will become a challenge for you.
Gary, I don't want your negativity.
Well, this isn't negativity. This is my story of coming back from vacation. Come back from my 17-day vacation. I mowed the grass right before I left. And I thought to myself when I left, yeah, it's probably going to be a little long when I get back.
Just a touch.
But it won't be like abandoned house.
Right.
I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I get back. The front lawn, the grass is kind of long, but the dandelions are next level.
Yeah.
But then you go to my backyard, which might as well be Jumanji. When I say the grass was 12 inches long and I had to go through and use my weed whacker to cut it down enough to even attempt to mow the grass. And then with the electric mower, I had to like tilt that thing up in the air just to be able to mow it. And then I had to wait 2 days and then mow again. That's the challenge of the e-mower.
Quick question for you. Was the grass shorter or taller than the grass at our Airbnb you booked in Washington, PA?
Oh, shorter for sure.
Okay.
That grass was...
By a lot?
Well, that grass was like... If you were on the prairie... Yeah, by a lot. Like if you were on the prairie in the 1800s, that's what that grass looked like. But it was nice inside. The cattle
would have chewed that down.
Yeah, well, not the cattle. The bison might have. There were no cattle.
You got to give me a history of the beef products, the red meat products in the Old West.
No, but I will tell you, bison is delicious. Yeah.
There you have it, folks. We have completely tanked this episode 3 minutes in. If you are under the age of 30, I apologize that you're hearing about mowing grass, bison, the Wild West, use of the word prairie. None of those things have anything to do with the sports cards. Let's give everybody a recap. We got back from Indianapolis last week. So can I give my little story of getting to the show? All right,
it was so good.
Here's the deal. So initially, a couple months back, we were going to be in Cincinnati last Saturday for a show. We heard about this Millerfest in Noblesville. Indy's been a really good market for us at shows and pretty good size at a nice facility. So we say, yeah, let's do this. It's a 2-day show. We have a couple days to sell. That'll be nice. And we're trying to travel out and branch out a little bit more out of our, just our local 3-hour radius, right? So the deal was I was in Vegas, Gary's in Ohio, and I forgot that we are now going to be in Indianapolis a day earlier, the day that I fly back. So that's not going to work. So reroute my flight to land in Indy an hour before the show. What could go wrong? And get to the airport, leaving Vegas, beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. It's hard to have a delayed flight out of Vegas. Like, it doesn't happen too often. It happens. Crew's not there on time. They were apparently tearing up the strip all night, and now they're 20, 30 minutes late. They get on. I get up there. We've already upgraded so I can have an aisle seat, which Southwest, what have you done to yourselves?
Oh, it's bad. We don't fly there anymore.
What have you done to yourself? There's no more gamification of the seating.
No,
There's
they killed it.
Well, I had it made. I would get on the flight early, check in right away, get in a good spot, make myself as fat as possible when people walked in, and I'd have 2 seats if there was an extra seat left. This time, I paid for an upgrade. I roll up, sir, we're going to have to check your bag. I said, ma'am, I'm sorry, you don't understand. I'm going to Millerfest. I've got to get there. People need baseball cards. It was not moving to her. She was not impressed. She was not amused or entertained. She handed me a check and said, you'll be able to find it. It'll be the first off the belt, which I knew meant somebody's spitting in my burger in the kitchen now. They weren't going to. Sure enough, like one of the last ones off the belt. Maybe I had a little attitude explaining that I had to get to an appointment. I didn't define it as a card show. That's not relevant right now. Whatever appointment was important to her was all I cared about. We get in late. We're like 40 minutes late by the time we land. Then I got to go to baggage claim. Then I start ordering Ubers, which, by the way, in Columbus, from one point of the city to the other side of the outer belt is generally 20 to 30 minutes just about everywhere. You catch traffic maybe 40, but even in rush hour, there's only a few roads that back up like that. Indianapolis, though, oh, man, they don't mind doing construction on all of the major roads. So I'm on the other end. All of a sudden it says hour and 15 to Noblesville. I'm like, great. It's probably 30 miles, hour and 15. This is awesome. It's so bad the first 2 Uber drivers cancel on me, right? Then I'm looking at who can get here the quickest, and it said like electric vehicle. I was like, screw it, whatever. So I clicked that one. It's like $120, $80, 100. It was a crazy number, and the guy finally shows up. Now we're way behind. And I mean, I have no idea. In my mind, if you're set up that first couple hours, if you miss that, you just assume you lost thousands and thousands of dollars. That's just.
I was selling your cards for you.
You were, but it can happen, right? Like if you got buried and you got your showcases there and you're talking to 3 people and people are looking at my stuff and you're buried, it's just going to cost money, right? Yep. So then we're on the way there. The driver's really nice. 20, probably more like 50 yards in front of us. A semi was just drifting and he decides to correct it. And then we got to watch that whole thing fishtail flip over.
Yeah, I get that picture from you. You were like, so that's my Uber driver checking on our boy there.
Yeah. The guy's okay. There's 9 people checking on him. And he's like, I really think I need to stop. Well, who am I? Who am I in this moment? Other than an impatient man that can't wait to go sell his ball cards. I realize how it sounds now, but I promise you it wasn't quite like this. I mean, I don't even know what time I got there, but it was late.
It was close to 5. Yeah. It was close to 5 by the time you got there. That's all right.
It was a journey. It was a journey. One of the coolest venues we've done a show in. By far.
My back and my feet and my legs were so happy. So this was in a field house, and we were on the turf side. So the only negative was I don't know how it was happening, but thousands of little rubber pellets inside of my shoes.
Yeah.
Like they migrated in there. I have no idea how.
Well, and then we had like the repeat being triggered because it had precision logos all over it. Like the company Gary and I used to work for was the main sponsor for this building. So we're seeing all this garage stuff, which is a company that they used to commission the sales. Like Gary and I made good money, and then they just started squeezing it. And it's like, by the way, any of you out there working for Precision that happen to be listening in on this, we get it, dog. That next safety I called that they tell you they tried to find you a good one. We get it. Hang in there. Come on in.
Or do what we did. Bail.
Screw this. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that was fun. Also, fun fact, I forgot about turf pellets.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like just full of my shoes. Over and over.
$2 worth of rubber pellets out of there on accident. I actually put my Air Force Ones, which are my official dad shoes.
Yeah.
I'm officially to a shoe that I just keep buying the same one, and I'm okay with it. White Air Force Ones every 4 months. That's about how long they last before I've torn them up.
I can't go pure white shoes. My feet are too big.
Well, yeah. Too big. You will look like Bozo the Clown.
From space. Yeah.
I want to see it now.
Too big.
I want to put you in those. What were those Kobe Protos? You remember the astronaut looking ones? I bet you would be skiing. You probably wouldn't be able to lift your feet.
I've got a pair of the Mamba 2s that are like a beige color, and it's a little. I can't wear them too often because. Are
you worried that the color would just pop a little too much, draw too much attention, Gary? What's the concern here? Because this is ironic.
Anytime that you have a light color on something really big, it just increases that visibility. And my feet are already massive.
Yeah. So why do you wear bright colors on that head of yours?
This isn't bright. This is just
that's the most tame hat you own, and you know it. You trying to draw attention to that mug?
Well, you got to balance out the feet. Got to balance it out.
I don't know how you do it. It's a delicate dance, but sir, you are as nimble as a ballerina.
Let's talk about sports cards.
You know, why not? 10 minutes in. Enough about Gary's face and feet.
Yeah, enough about my face and feet. You've got the agenda for the day, sir. So ride us out here.
Let's start off with a question that we got at a show, and I think it would be a really helpful one. So here in a little bit, we're going to talk about Topps Chrome, some other stuff. There were some interesting dynamics at this show that we were just at. I think it's going to be a good conversation. But the first thing I want to talk about, something that's happening a lot as people are newer to the hobby, which those of you that are curmudgeons that hate this, I hate to tell you this, but it seems to be true. Every month or two, we're meeting tons of new collectors,
which is awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so good for the health of the industry.
Yeah. So all of you going straight to zero people, you're going to have to find a way to keep other people from finding out about cards.
Yeah.
To be right. So good luck with that. But we had somebody walk up with a huge Cooper flag card. I'll let Gary break it down a little bit more, but it brought up just a reoccurring question of like, so many people hit their first big card and they're excited. And then it's immediately followed by them being terrified because they're like, what do I do with this? How do I make sure I'm not getting ripped off? How do I get the most value out of it? When's the right time? Everybody says to grade this thing. Should I grade it? Blah, 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 blah. So let's just take a little time. You tell the story. And then we just want to jump into the context of like, what should you do if you hit a really big card and it's time to move it?
Yeah. So young man walks up and he said, do you guys buy big cards? The answer to that is depends on what you think of a big card is. For some people, a $2,000 card is a big card, and yeah, we'll buy that. Some people, it's a $2 million card. No, we won't buy that.
Forgot my checkbook.
Yeah. But he had a Topps Finest Cooper Flag rookie, a true, not an insert, numbered to 5.
Yeah.
And he pulled it himself. And really cool card. And I said, well, what are you looking to get out of it? And at first he said, well, I don't know. And most of the time when somebody says that, I hesitate to use the word lie, but it is a protective thing. They're saying that protectively because they don't want to say their number because they're afraid that you're either going to say yes immediately and then they're going to feel like they started too low.
Well, and let me jump in here. Yeah. This is rooted in this old sales principle that the first one to talk loses.
Yeah.
That's not true. And I'm going to tell you, if you've been using this as a tactic, you're creating an environment that makes the other party more uncomfortable.
Yes.
Unless your goal is to just shove them into getting what you want. But
yeah. So I said, well, it's hard for me to buy it and sell it. It's a card that, could be worth. And he goes, well, I'd like to get 10. I think that it's probably worth, people have told me that it's worth $12,000, $14,000. I said, well, it might be. And I asked the next question, which I always ask in this situation, because we're always in a room and there's usually 2 or 3 guys that are set up in that room that we know really well. And we know the type of cards they buy. And this would fall into that category.
Yep.
And I said to him, well, have you talked to this person, and this person here in the room? And his answer was, yeah, I've talked to all those people. And I said, what did they offer you? And he said, well, they said they weren't interested. They didn't know where to be on it. If the guys who routinely buy 5-figure cards are saying that to you, what they're saying to you is one of 2 things. They're nicely telling you that your valuation is in la la land
compared to theirs,
or they're saying there is way too much variance in this for us to make an offer that we think would make sense to you.
Right.
And I said, I think if they've all told you the same thing, those are the only people in the room that I'm aware of that are going to be in a spot to just shell out 10 to 12K for this card in cash today.
Right.
I said, I'd love to buy the card from you, but I don't even want to make an offer to you because I don't want to insult you. And he goes, no, what would you pay? And I said, I'd give you $3,000. I said,
Gary said, you're going to want this seatbelt.
Yeah. I said, I'll give you $3,000 for it. And he goes, oh, and I said, well, let me tell you why. I said, I think that if I were to do anything with this card, I think that realistically, I can probably get 6 or 7 out of it, but I have no idea how long that'll take.
Mhm.
So if I'm parking $3,000 for who knows how long, I have to take into account what not having that in liquidity is going to cost me, because I can do a lot of damage over a month or two with $3,000 in ultra liquid stuff, just turning it and turning it and turning it. I said, and I also have to take into account that if I put $3,000 into it, I'm 100% certain that worst case scenario, I'll get my $3,000 back. Like, I feel confident that I can make 2 or 3 phone calls and get $3,000, probably to those guys in the room that I tried to send you to. But here's what I told him, and this is the advice I would give all of you if you hit this type of a card. This is not a card that you are going to have success selling it to a reseller, right? This is not the type of card, because it's not an easy to move card. It's not liquid. It's rare, and it's desirable.
This is a really, I want to drill in here just for a second, because I think a lot of people believe that an established comp creates liquidity. And I think the reason for that is because it is what we see in our media cycle in the space nonstop. $50,000 cards buying and selling, blah, blah, blah. But I'd ask you to take a peek. How many people are actually doing that? Is it the large majority of the people in the room, or is it the same 5 people that know buyers that buy cards like that?
Yes.
So this idea that, well, it has to be something everybody wants because it's so valuable, or it has a high value comp, that's not necessarily how that works if you're sourcing to a room full of vendors.
Well, and that leads to the next part of this. That's a card that the only people that are going to be able to sell it relatively quickly, to your point, are people who have the network of buyers that are going to buy that. Now, Jason and I have networks of people that we sell to, but they don't include those buyers very often. We know maybe 1 or 2 people that will take swings at that, and it's because they know the end user, not because we know the end user.
Or we're able to essentially get that at a point where that person can still make money. So then it's like, there's no way that is offering the highest value proposition to the seller in the room. So which is going to lead us to something that you won't expect.
Yes. And so what I told this young man, and this is the advice I would give anybody that hits this kind of a card, you need to put that card in the hands of someone who is going to market it effectively for you. And I told him flat out, here's what I would do. I would reach out to Golden, and I would reach out to Fanatics, and I would let them bid against each other for percent of the hammer price. You should not accept anything less than 100%. And I would probably shoot for 105. Have them grade it for you on Super Express. It'll be, and then put it in the next auction as one of the featured pieces, and let them market it to their people, because they have all of the incentive in the world to market that, because they're getting that buyer's premium, 15 to 20% on top of the final sale price. So that's how you maximize the value of that type of card. If you have something, and this goes across the board in this industry, if you don't know how to sell something, it doesn't have any value to you, if that makes sense. Like, Jason would buy, when he was still doing high volume, low dollar eBay stuff, he would buy boxes and boxes of stuff from people for really, really cheap, because he was willing to do the work and had the know-how and knowledge to do something with it.
And at a certain point, you have the buyers looking for it every month on eBay.
But the person he was buying it from had no idea what to do with it. So having the knowledge, and just because you hit a big card doesn't mean suddenly I'm rich. You got to know what to do with it and how to do it.
And there are people, I'll say that we're making it sound like you'll never sell one of these cards at a show. That's not what we're saying.
No,
we're saying that card was the perfect example where you had a handful of buyers in the room, vendors in the room that have buyers for larger cards that were just saying that card is too risky at that valuation.
Yes.
That's the market speaking. So there are shows where you can move that stuff, but sometimes you have something unique enough and valuable enough that the seller or the buyer has to build a case for the future sale.
Yeah.
And there's just not enough data there. That's the game we're playing now. And for those of you that are like, forget comps, this and that. That's cool until you got to pay a bill.
Yeah.
And then you need to sell a card.
Yeah.
Like that's so, or until you're thinking the guys saying that probably aren't scooping up of 5 Cooper flag autos that somebody thinks are worth 10 grand with no sales.
Well, and you also have the flip side of that. Another situation that occurred at this show, which left me flabbergasted. The opposite side of the coin, somebody had bought a card and it was a cool card, but it wasn't a monster card. It was an of 5 Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson on the Topps dynamic duels.
Oh man, this
cool
is funny.
card, no comps. And as a dealer, as a vendor, when somebody walks up to the table and asks you if you're interested in a card, and before you can even take it out of their hand, they're already justifying the price they want for it to you. You already know this isn't going to go well. Like,
yeah, they were just pushing aggressive. Like, well, I think it's this, and you better this. I'm like, it doesn't. Like, I'll tell you this: if I'm approached like that, I don't want to give you I wouldn't give you $1 for it. Yeah. Like if the tone is there and it feels like somebody's shoving me around, I'm going to give you $0.
Well, what it tells me,
I'm going to give you 0, less than 1. That's what I'm offering.
What it tells me is that you paid too much for it, and now you're trying to build a case that I'll pay more than you paid for it. And he's like, well, there's one available on eBay for 500, and then another one available for 2,000, and then there's this and this. And I said, well, whoa, slow down. I'm assuming there's.
It was like in a 10-second window from getting to the table, right?
Yeah, I said yes, and I was like, slow down. And there's people around, and I said, slow down. Let me look and see if there's anything else comparable out there, like other players from the same set. And I find multiple things that are similar players, similar collectability, and they're all in the $150 to $250 range. And I said, yeah, I just think that we're probably going to be too far apart. I don't even make an offer. And he gets mad. Now you can tell he's done this shtick at probably 40 tables.
Yeah, it hasn't worked all day.
He's got a dealer badge on.
The next dealer.
He's got a dealer badge on. So he's done this shtick all around the room. And finally he looks at me and goes, well, I said, listen, man, I think it's probably worth $200 to $250. Like, I'm interested in it, but I just thought, well, I think I'm just going to go buy that $500 one just so there's a comp. And I went, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, and I think I'll just buy the $2,000 one too. And now I just looked at him and said, well, that's one way to live your life, sir.
If you're a dealer and you capture content, I can't think of anything better because this happens like once a month at a show. Yeah. Of somebody's like, well, like Gary had a deal one time where we talked about it. This guy was sourcing for a major repacker. He's still in the scene. We're not going to say his name or anything like that, but he was working out a deal and it was a few $1,000s, right? Several cards, somebody stacking up a bunch of probably $50 to $100 slabs for their repack, right? And they get down to the end of this thing and they've just been hitting percentages. He's like, yep. That's how it's supposed to work. If these guys want somebody to go find all this and give it to you and give it at margin, then here's the number. And then the dude tries to get Gary to come his way $5. And Gary says, you know what? I'm not going to lose a deal over $5. Cool. Guy buys everything. 30 seconds later, Gary's looking at a card. They've gone over.
He's trying to sell me a card.
Yeah. And he's like, could you give me that $5 back? And he says, no. And then he goes, I'd rather just give it away to a kid. And Gary goes, I see a kid over there right now. Let's track him down. But if dealers, please, when people start doing that, I would love nothing more than to say, get your phone open right now and buy that card for $2,000. I'd love to buy your, like, go do it. Let's see it. Let's see it.
I'll buy it. Yep.
No, pull it out right now. Oh, you want to give it to a kid? I know tons of kids here. I love the spirit of this. Come on, let's go. But these guys think that's like a flex when they don't realize they often look like the 7-year-old that brought the kickball to the sandlot and you got out and now you're taking the ball and going home.
It's like when somebody posts a card for sale. Yeah.
The problem is everybody else got a kickball too. Well, this is the next one.
Somebody posts a card for sale on Facebook. If this doesn't sell tonight, I'm sending it to PSA.
Oh no, let me give you money.
Cool story, bro. Send it to PSA. I hope you do well with it. If this
doesn't sell tonight, I'm going to spend $25 to maybe have more value on this card.
Or if it doesn't sell in here, I'm putting it on eBay. Cool story, bro. I guess I'll go bid and hope I get it cheaper.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
That's
So
going to
anyway,
be a canceled sale for sure.
those were two experiences we had this weekend that were kind of illustrative of some of the things we see. One of them is a situation where we want to try to help you guys a little bit. If you hit one of those big cards, you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Your best solution is to have professionals do it for you. It really is.
And if you're in the situation of the guy that walks up that you've hit several other tables and you believe that card was worth 500, listen, Gary and I can't count how many times we thought a card was X, and it wasn't. I had a Shohei case hit this weekend, a heavy lumber Dodgers uni, sitting there it's been there about a month, but I've been just all the cool Shohei stuff I can grab. I think it's a $450, maybe it had a $400 tag, and then there was a $450 comp.
Yep.
And it's been looked at 10, 15 times, but non-rookie, recent case hit. It's just a little bit different treatment than some of the earlier Shohei stuff, but still, anyway, guy picks it up and he's like, is there a crease on this? I'm thinking, it's not a crease. This is a wooden card. It's a heavy lumber. I take the lid off. Sure enough, there's like a big wave. I look up online. That can happen a lot. And what did I have to do? I immediately knocked the price down $150 below the last comp, changed my sticker to say surface issue.
Yep.
And somebody came walking up and said, hey, what's going on here? I said, well, here's everything that's going on. Take the card out, look at it, feel this spot, blah, blah, blah. It's not supposed to be like that. Here's my number. I need out of the card. So it will not gem. But if you're looking for a case hit Shohei that you think is really cool for your collection, you can get this one for $150 less.
Yep.
I had to detach from my expectations to get out. And guess what? I got my money back. I'm out.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes you have to take the L.
Yep. It's part of the process.
It just is. You're never going to bat 1,000. I don't care what you do for a living. You're never going to bat 1,000. You're going to spend more on something. You're going to buy something that you thought was going to go up and goes down. Like,
pissing off 90 dealers in the room is not going to help your business. I know you think it is. Because Gary and I have been there too. We've said things from time to time that somebody took as personal and we felt it at the next show. So just there needs to be a level of awareness. And if I was in that situation, here's what I would say. Here's how I'd approach that. Hey, man, I got this card. I think it's pretty cool. It's an F5. You take a look. Are you interested? That's the first question you need to ask. Are you even interested in this card?
Yeah.
It doesn't have any comps, so I could use your help on it. You see how this language is a little bit different?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see any comps either. Okay. Well, I didn't either. There's a couple eBay listings. One of them sounds kind of silly, but there's one at 500. Nobody's purchased yet, which means it is not a $500 card.
Right.
It's somewhere less than 500. And then you give them the opportunity to make an offer. But if you roll in there steamrolling, you're going to be the most frustrated. You'll be burnt out. And the first couple weeks you have shows where you bought a bunch of inventory wrong and your ego got in the way of getting out of cards, you're going to take enough of a hit financially to just say, oh, I'm out of this.
Well, and I do know how frustrating.
And this is not just this, where like this person's list, it's not just like, this is a common exchange.
This was just something that happened. And I know how frustrating it can be when you feel strongly that something that you bought has a certain value.
Yeah.
You feel strongly that this is what it should be worth, and nobody else recognizes that. I know how frustrating that can be because I've been there. Jason will tell you there are some cards, especially from certain eras, that I get emotionally attached to, and I live in a world of should. And should, it might as well not exist because it's a make-believe word. Should doesn't matter. Reality matters.
And you can give yourself a should timeline.
Yes.
Hey, I think this card should do this. But if you're smart like Gary and I, you put a sticker on the back saying when you bought it so that you can say, man, how does this not have any traction? The last comp was still in line with this. And if it's been there, if I see something that's been there more than 3 months, some of you are saying that's way too long. But if I, because we buy some weirder stuff, if I have showcase stuff I'm set up almost every week, has been there 3 months, I probably have a pricing problem. Probably. Because the market is not responding. Or I'm in the wrong platform, and that's an eBay card, or that's an auction house card, or that's whatever. But the market is telling you, no, bro.
Yeah. I've got a card like that in my showcase. 10,000
eyes have looked on this.
Yeah.
And they all agree that they're not going to pay that for it.
I've got one in the showcase right now that is in my stack to reprice this week. It's a Ken Griffey Jr. auto.
That one, and that one stings. Like this
Yes.
particular card, it bugs you, right?
Yes.
Talk about it.
Well, it bugs me because, again, the should word. It's a card that hasn't sold for 2.5, 3 years raw. It's an on-card, beautiful auto out of Topps Finest. And the recent sales are Min Gem BGS 9.5s that are over $1,000. Like 1025 and 1075 are the only recent sales within the last 2 or 3 months. So I had it tagged at 675, like 60% of a BGS Min Gem 9.5. And Ken Griffey Jr. autos don't stick around. Like they sell within a week or two, almost always.
Yeah. Especially in Ohio. Yep.
Yes. Almost always. So, and it's Mariners Uni, like it's all the right things. It's a pretty card. It's a refractor. It's a beautiful card. And people have looked at it. Now, I will say this, more people have looked at it when I was on vacation and Jason had my cards than have looked at it when I've been at shows.
Yeah.
That's the part where for me, it's like, nobody's even looking at it. Jason's like, no, they have. And I was like, oh, well, it hasn't been my experience. But
yeah. I probably had 10 conversations about the card.
Yeah. And I think I've had
just
one.
And so that's a great example of this. So Griffey, Mariners Uni, Chrome, on-card auto.
All the things.
My guess, as you do a little more deep diving, which every dealer has to do this within a few months when they have a card, they're like, why hasn't this sold?
Yeah.
So it could be price. But if the only comparable people are looking at is the BGS Min 9.5s, then you got a solid argument. My hunch, though, and I think you probably agree, is somebody's going to find a semi-similar raw Chrome on-card Griffey auto that has popped off, or a few that have popped off that aren't the same card.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, I get this. I scratched the same itch with that $400 auto that I would with that $650. That's my guess.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just that random show. And here, this happens too. People walk up all the time at our table. They buy a few cards, and then 3 hours later, like, how long have you had that? 3 months. They've seen it every week. They just didn't see that card. So, but that Griffey's a really good case for that, because it's not that you can't make the argument. It makes sense based off of what you're saying.
I don't want to have the argument. I just want to sell the card.
Right. So if you guys see Gary this weekend at Grove City Car Fest, make sure to lowball him on that Griffey, see what happens.
Well, I think I'm about to drop the price $100 is what I think I'm about to do. So
my guess is about that. A lot of offers around $550, but I know that it doesn't seem right based on the data of that card.
Yes.
But that's the thing dealers have to do too. And sometimes we're buying stuff so quick that you're looking at one card. You got 3 people lined up. You're feeling behind. You don't want to lose out on those other buying opportunities. And I've had times where I look up a card like that and don't think I should be checking Topps Chrome, Finest, like anything else in that same range. And I'll miss some of those other comps. Yeah. 10 similar cards have sold in the last year, but that card hasn't sold for 3.
Yeah.
And then try to determine what makes the most sense there. But it's not an exact science. It's not an exact science.
No. And the reality of it is that unless you're buying the super, super, super liquid stuff that sells 10 to 50 times a day,
right,
there's going to be some guesswork involved. You're going to take chances. You need to know what you sell a lot of, what your customers like, what they don't like, and make educated decisions and go from there.
Can I make fun of you for saying decisions?
Sure. You can make fun of me for anything you'd like to, Jason.
I was hoping
nothing's ever stopped you before.
It hasn't stopped me yet.
It's never stopped you before.
Hey, nobody's more of an enunciation police officer than you, sir.
That's fair.
You are a decorated veteran. You got the stripes on your sleeve for correcting people's enunciation and grammar.
Oh, gosh. Do we want to go see Keith?
Let's do it. So Keith has a real interesting conversation for us today. He wanted to talk about market pricing because there's been a lot of conversation around, is the LCS gouging? Are there fixed prices? What is MSRP? What does a shop do with a product like Topps Chrome where there's such a range on their expense for buying and selling? So let's head up to Delaware, Ohio, Newhart Cards, Keith Newhart with Shop Talk.
Hi, this is Keith at Newhart Cards, and this is Shop Talk. I thought with everything going on in the hobby recently, we would talk about pricing structure and how we price some of our products. So let's just do a real quick history lesson. Go back maybe 10 or 12 years. Panini had to come out with a thing called MAP pricing, which was minimum accepted pricing program, right? So that was when the market would, a product would come out on Wednesday and by Friday it would already tank. So let's say, certified comes out at $150. You couldn't sell that product any less than that for 30 days. So times, boy, have they changed, right? So now we're talking about maybe pricing structure on the other side where we can't price a product over a certain price, right? That hasn't happened yet, but I can see that in the thinking, especially with Fanatics and Tops and everything. So how do we price our stuff? Well, basically we look, there's big three. There's Dave and Adams, there's Blowout, and there's Steel City, right? They kind of set the tone, they set the market. And then Tops comes out with their pricing as well. So we try to land somewhere in that area. On retail product, there is MSRP, so we try to be really as close to that as humanly possible. A lot of our products, we actually price below MSRP if we get a ton of it in, but like Topps Chrome, Bowman Chrome Basketball, we didn't get a huge amount in, so we like to be right at MSRP, slightly above if we have to be. Again, there's no MSRP on hobby products, so contrary to belief, there's no set pricing on that. Again, Topps prices theirs to the public, but we can price it wherever we want to, fit to the market, I guess. So that's kind of how we price things. I would imagine most shops, most breakers, that's kind of how they do it as well, just go by feel. But again, 15 years in the business, that's kind of what we do. So again, if you have any questions or anything, please drop a note in the Discord. Come to me directly, whatever you want to do. I'm an open book. So this has been Keith at New Heart Cards, and this is Shop Talk.
Okay, so we saw there, as Keith sharing, that maybe you were a little bit surprised about MSRP on hobby not being really a thing. So it'd be important to see how they get that measuring of like where this product should drop. But as he mentioned, you got the big three that are distributing cases out there, and they're kind of setting that market right now. So that's where most shops are going to line up with as far as the market pricing. But let's talk a little more about Topps Chrome Football.
Yeah.
It's been a really interesting release, a lot of different opinions. One of the things Gary and I found kind of strange, because we're known for being a little more risk averse with our buying, right? Is that a good way of saying it? Like,
Yeah.
we don't.
We paying bills, bro.
Well, yeah, but we don't have channels to buy brand new stuff that we aren't sure will move within a week or two. Topps Chrome's perfect for that. But what was interesting is we found at this show last weekend, people would come to, we were towards the front, had a great spot, but there were people that had already been at a few tables, and they're like, man, I thought these cards all have these huge comps and these dealers are not trying to buy it. What's going on? And we were just like, I think nobody knows where this stuff's going to land, and they're not sure they can move it in the next week or two before anything settles. You've got, in one end, you have this really high resale number that we're seeing achieved and breaking. But on these Facebook groups, we're seeing people try to unload cases of hobby at like $700 a pop. So what might be going on with Topps Chrome Football? What will the market demand on singles in the next month or two? More specifically, that's what I'm most concerned with as a dealer. And then is it a good thing, or is it a really bad thing, or is it just kind of a is what it is thing right now with this release?
Well, I think we talked about it a little bit last week as far as the secondary market goes, but it all is intertwined. So the problem you've got is, you've got Fanatics, not, in my opinion, obviously I don't sit on the board at Fanatics. I'm not in these meetings with Michael Rubin, but they've obviously made some decisions about the best way to drive their bottom line. They're a private business. They can do that, right? Mm-hmm. They're not putting a gun to anybody's head and forcing them to buy Topps Chrome. Like, you don't have to buy it.
Right.
If you want to buy it, you can. If you don't, go buy Leaf or go buy Wildcard or whatever it is you like. But if I'm an LCS owner over the last 6 days, I am fuming because I spoke to a LCS yesterday, and I'm not going to say their names because I don't need anybody getting in trouble with anybody, but they were told on the offered rebuy, it's an offer, but you better take it because you may go from MVP to prospect which is the categories of distribution that Fanatics offers their LCSs, if you don't. And that's going to be $11.25 a box. It's going to be 13 grand a case. I know that your first case was at allocation. I know it's the same day as the product dropped. But if you don't buy it, just, kind of know you're telling us you don't really want to play ball. And now over the last, like Jason said, over the last week and a half, in some of the bigger dollar, and a lot of you guys that are on Facebook understand when we talk about this stuff, you guys may be going, well, where are you guys seeing this? I don't see any of this. That's because you're not in the rooms where this stuff happens, because they're a little
pockets
harder to get into. They're smaller pockets, like
wallet voucher rooms. We talked about that in the past, like rooms where if Gary doesn't pay for a card, I am his wallet voucher, which means I'm responsible. So not everybody, it all sounds gravy. We're talking about some spaces that are a little harder to get into. And it's just from the time and relationships. Really.
It's why when I see people post in some of these groups, well, good luck getting $10,000 for a card on Facebook, I just laugh, because I watch $100,000 cards move on Facebook every single day.
Right, deal or no deal. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. So, but I'm watching in these rooms as post after post after post. Hey, I've got 7 jumbos at $1,100 a piece, and I've got 26 hobbies at $755 first claim. Like 30-40% less than Fanatics was shoving them down dealers' throats at. And it's breakers that can't fill their breaks at these price points.
Yeah. So that's a breaker ish. That the breakers created that.
Well, did the breakers create it? Yes, but did they create it with definite help from Fanatics? Also, yeah. When Fanatics is
here's the thing,
60% of the print run.
But hold on. If you and I started breaking tomorrow, you know what we're probably not going to get right off the rip
allocation
as we're getting started? Cases of jumbo. And like, if you and I started breaking tomorrow, we would put together an interesting mixer once a week, 4 or 5 boxes, where there's a way to catch some value through all the different products, all the different sports, to try to build value. That's probably the approach we would take with it, right? Sure. I think there were a lot of people breaking, and I don't know if it has anything to do with this one, but I do think there's a lot of people who have heard breaking, that started a breaking company, that heard that Topps Chrome football is the future, right? You don't want to miss this release. They saw it getting ripped. They've seen the hits. And then what they do is they go, I got to get a case. Everybody will want it. But the basic principles of economics don't change with supply and demand. And if you don't have an audience that you can move cases of an expensive product for what it is, which is Topps Chrome, if you don't have a room full of people that understand first year Chrome, I don't want to miss out on this, this is kind of iconic, blah, 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 whatever the reason is, you're not going to move all that. And I think there's a lot of people stuck holding the bag because they get excited around the hype, but they fail to ask the question, can I move it?
Yeah.
Case in point, Cooper Flag to 5.
Yes.
That's us. Cool card, great value. I don't know that I have the remove. So hear me out, guys. So I'm not going to run this up on my credit card.
Yes.
So I'm not going to put myself in the hole to chase after having whatever has just been released. Start smaller. I'd really encourage it. I do think that that's played into this a little bit, Gary.
I don't disagree with you, but I also think that the lack of availability to the general public from the EQL drop through the public release of the product has played into it as well. And
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, it doesn't help. Like when you've got an LCS that's getting 1 case of jumbos, 1 case of hobbies, 1 case of blasters, 1 case of hangers.
Right.
But Dick's Sporting Goods House of Sports
has
pallets full of the retail and a pallet of cases of hobby.
Yeah, direct quote from an employee close, like we're close to a House of Sport.
Yeah.
And they're out there flexing on them.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. They don't seem to update their singles prices too quickly in House of Sport.
Once they're priced, they're priced.
Once you guys get out there shopping, get that card ladder app out there. It almost makes the employees nervous sometimes. Like I had it out scanning. They had some Sal Stewart stuff, which they apparently marked up way too high before they put it in there. But I know you've caught some, and I've been hearing people catching some slabs where like there's like baseball where there's big movement on players. So definitely worth taking a peek there
For sure.
But I do think that's it. So here's a really interesting question. So in my mind, I already believed that this was going to land around $1,200 a box. The reason for that is when they released Topps Chrome basketball at that $500-600 range, the secondary market absolutely responded at $1,200. Whether it was breakers or whoever, that's where the product moved, and it moved at that price for a really long time. I don't know if it's still at $1,200, but it held its own there, right? Like the market said, people are willing to pay $1,200 for this hobby box. Fair?
Sure.
With that product, that seemed to be the case. So I wasn't surprised to see the same thing again. My question, if there's any ounce of hopefulness, is what's going to happen on the next similar release? So the next similar
Finest comes out soon, so we'll find out.
I probably the 2026 Topps Chrome football is where I think we would see that Finest could be similar, but I'll be real interested to see if that number lands somewhere in the middle or if we just keep, this is what we've seen. This is what's happening every time. But I understand the reason for that. Here's what I don't like, though. That same day second offering.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is it's easy to say Fanatics, but one of the things that I've been hearing is that a lot of these reps are in a high turnover rate with Fanatics. The reps that are dealing directly, like some regions have been through several in 6 months or a year. And so what I wonder is that the script that Fanatics hands out? Hey, if you don't do this, you're now going to be, relegated to this league like it's Premier League soccer or whatever, right? Is that them or is that a account manager that's just trying to scare somebody into, hey guys, we got a lot of cases here. Now, either way it's an issue, Gary.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of a difference between this being what Fanatics is saying and that. Now, does that change the secondary offering being double? Nope.
When I'm hearing triple, like when I'm hearing from multiple LCS owners from around the country, I don't think that that's a rogue rep here or there.
Okay.
Like the reality of it is when you've got it's just a really good illustration of how insular and vertically integrated our industry is. Like you said, who are the big three? We're talking about Steel City, Dave and Adams, and Blowout. Right. They are the ones setting the secondary market prices. They're not responding to public demand. They're just going, 1,200 sounds good, and slapping it on their website, and then everybody follows suit.
But that's my point. Don't you think that it's not just pulling a number out of the sky? Like that's what Topps Chrome basketball did.
I understand that, but did it do that because that's the actual demand? Or did it do that because they said, well, this is the price and people wanted it, so they paid it? Like there's a difference.
That's a good question, but I don't know that we can know the answer to it. Like we could, but nobody's going to tell us.
I would tell you this. I think they would sell a lot more product and you wouldn't see the free fall in the backdoor secondary market if LCSs were allocated properly and the general public had a shot at stuff. And I'm not even saying they need to set a false MSRP or anything like that.
Right.
But like the reality of it is we want this hobby to be healthy long-term, which I think we all do. There has to be balance.
So would you be, I'm going to give you a loaded one here.
Okay.
So would you be a proponent of price mapping for hobby products for the LCS?
What do you mean by price mapping?
So Fanatics says, hey, the most you can sell this card for or this box for is X.
Within a certain period of time after release, sure. I think that
what would be the appropriate markup in your mind? Knowing a second wave is coming. So we have shop owners, business owners that have lost money because they were encouraged to buy at $1,100 and now they're selling for $9. So they're $200 a box if they can.
There's where we have disconnect. There shouldn't be second waves from the manufacturer. The manufacturer should not be running second waves.
Topps Chrome is being released next week.
That's it.
How do you fix it?
Topps Chrome is being released next week. How do you fix it? Number one, no more half or more of the total print distribution being sent to breakers. period, the end. You want an account, you get an account, and everybody's on the same playing field, whether you're a breaker or whether you're an LCS. That's number one. Number
So
two.
wait, you have three breakers, regardless of audience, gross volume that they're moving, they all would get an equal amount of cases.
No. That's not what I said.
Okay, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying you get an equal number of cases. I'm saying that if you are a business in this space, whether you're an LCS, whether you're a breaker, and you have some type of a brick and mortar establishment that you run your business out of, it should operate in the same way that it did pre-COVID, which is I'm a retailer, you're a wholesaler, Fanatics, right? Here's your product offering, and I'm allowed to order up to X amount of cases. What I can afford for what I know that the demand of my business is. So that's one. Two, I love the idea of saying, hey, for the first 30 days after release, this is the max that you can sell stuff for. And I don't even have a problem with the cutting seals thing that Rob did. I think that's kind of a good way to balance the people that are trying to make a quick flip profit on something and the people who just want to rip something. So those two things in and of themselves. And then, like you said, adding a price mapping structure for a limited period of time after the release of a product, what causes the prices to go through the roof. And again, and the flip side, the last part of this is you can't let 3 independent companies set the entire secondary market for the hobby. Like Blowout is a great company. Dave and Adams is a great company. Steel City is a great company. They're going to be able to supply you with products. Right. But when Burbank or Newhart or whoever gets 1 case of something and Steel City gets 200 and you're cornering a market and saying, here's the price. No, there's nothing to justify. It's just what we want to charge you. So if you want it, that's what you're going to pay. And then people pay it. And they're like, see, people will pay it.
Yeah, but that wasn't what happened with Topps Chrome basketball. That's the part that's got my mind thinking.
What didn't happen? How did that not happen with Topps Chrome basketball?
Because
exactly
then they
what
just
happened.
Okay. So let's run your scenario. Here's what I'm saying. They put a cap. So let's say Topps Chrome 2026 Topps Chrome football. We're gonna fix all this. $600 a box. It's probably in line with most Topps Chrome products. Maybe $700. Obviously, everything's getting a little more expensive, right? $750, sure. Whatever. And they say you guys can't sell these for more than $900.
Yep.
Want to give you guys a healthy markup. You're gonna make a few $100 a box. These are a little more accessible now. You should sell through them quick. We will have a second offering in a few weeks, right? The breakers that have been moving 200 cases of product still have 200 cases worth of products in buyers in their room. And there will be nothing stopping them from immediately buying that crap for $1,200, $1,500 on eBay. I think we've got it's tougher to solve than that. I think if it was set up like that, then what you would see is every LCS completely wiped out of this stuff. It would be like Pokemon at Target right now because it's an immediate $300 or $400 on eBay. So it's like, in one sense, yes, that will profit the LCS more. That would make it more available to the local community. I agree with all those things, but I'm not sure it fixes this issue we're talking about of like the sustainability of some of these prices.
I think that there's some validity to that, but I also think that you are drastically underestimating the number of people who just want to rip a cool product. And don't get me wrong. Yeah. I think that we should have products that are accessible across the board. There's nothing wrong with highly expensive products. You know, Topps Transcendent, Flawless, National Treasures. But when things that have been considered flagship products are reaching the price point or close to it of these high-end products, like we're getting an imbalance in the system. And I think that, yeah, but the other flip side of that is if I'm an LCS and I'm Topps, do what Target does. hey, hot new products, it's limit 2. You don't get to buy my whole case. Like
Yeah.
I bought one of our favorite LCSs locally that's not a Fanatics distributor guy is Lock City. I bought a blaster from him. He had 3 on the shelf and they were priced competitively. And I was like, I'll just give me all 3 of those. And he goes, hey man, I love you, but you can only have one. I went, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'll take one, because I wanted to rip one piece of that product to say I did.
Yeah.
I got smoked on my $55, but such is life.
So I think you and I are faced, when we think about this, with another reality. That is, our world is the singles market.
Yep.
I think even when we are rich from this one day, Gary, and our business is scaled out and we have our shop and we have some kid breaking cards or whatever's going on, like, I think, how do I want to word this? I think it's a little bit tough for us to acknowledge that a lot of people, when it comes to wax, prefer to experience it through a break. I think it's probably a higher percentage than you and I want to think, because our brains are wired to appreciate the other side of this space so much differently than just like you and I. You and I could take it or leave it ripping hobby. We'd like it to be something that's affordable. We get a little
I
more
would
back,
love
but
to still be able to rip hobby. I used to rip hobby like crazy.
But that's what I'm saying. So even at $600, $700, guys like you and I that sell singles, maybe rip a box, but we're probably not gonna. So what I'm saying is, if breaking is how this is happening, and I'm not saying that, I guess we could try to bring down breaking so that
what came first, the chicken or the egg? Do people
Right.
enjoy having their cards ripped by a break because they enjoy a break, or is it because it's the only way they can afford to get into ripping a product?
And option C, there's an entertainment value, there's a gambling itch,
Yes.
there's a community where you hang out with. There's some of these dudes, like, these are, like it or not, some of these guys, this is the closest they've been to having relationships in a long time, is hanging out in that room.
Fair.
Now, listen, I am not saying that the breaking room is your therapist and the answer to your life's problems.
Sure.
But what I am saying is, I do think guys our age are more reluctant to believe just how large of a slice of the pie prefers breaking.
Maybe.
And if that's true, then it's like that part of it has to get figured out as well. That moves with everything else within Fanatics. Now, there is another solution Fanatics could do.
What's that?
Upper deck this thing from the 90s. Just keep printing. Print more and more and more. And so I do wonder if they are trying to be careful on that a little bit. And that's
I definitely
creating some of that tension, which that's a good thing.
Yes,
so everybody's saying junk wax 2.0. In that regard, on production, I'm not quite sure it's there.
Well, we had a conversation this week with someone, and this is somebody who's connected to a lot of the decision makers at Fanatics, and their comment to you was, I don't think people understand, these guys are collectors too.
Yeah.
They love sports cards. Now, are they so far up the chain that they're disconnected from the day-to-day of the guy who just wants to buy a blaster once a week at Walmart? Probably. Yeah. But I do think, even if the motives are purely financial, that they care about the long-term health of the hobby. Mm-hmm. I think what happens is that those of us who are boots on the ground and see day to day the end results of some of the decisions they're making, whether that's people who, and this is the rarity, it's not the norm. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you. It's not the norm that somebody wrecks their whole life and runs up hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt on credit cards, but it does happen.
It does happen. Yeah.
It's not the norm, but it does happen. And we see that end result where somebody's lost their family, lost their finances over this. But more what we see is the guys who buy this stuff, they kind of get lied to by that entertainment aspect.
Sure.
And then they try to sell it at a show and then they walk away mad.
Or we have a lot of people stumble onto our content that they discovered it through breaking. They're in their 40s. They're reliving this. They have no clue what's going on. And then they learn how to comp and realize, oh, the return's not what I thought. Now what do I do? And I think it's going to be important to fill that gap when we talk about sustainability. And I know I sound like I'm just supporting everything Fanatics is doing here. I'm probably playing more devil's advocate than anything, but I do think that we need to remember Fanatics has verbalized their number one target goal over the next, 5 or 10 years. Do you remember what it is? What's the one thing they said that is the most important thing that Fanatics can do?
Oh, growing the collector base in general. Yeah.
In the world.
Evangelizing the hobby. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. And this is just from a business perspective. What will do that more effectively? People taking hobby boxes home and ripping them and maybe sharing what they hit, or being guaranteed that you have a live feed recording high energy. So it's like so in step with the goals and the vision of the business that I understand it, but I agree with you. My concern is if there's not a value on the local community representation, which emphasizes real relationships, I think the turnover rate is going to be the issue. It's not going to be, can we do this for the next few years? Yeah, breaking will stay hot until it doesn't. But I do think if we cannot convert a sales to a collector, then we're getting a bunch of one-offs.
Well, and I think that part of the problem, what you said is perfectly correct. Like, it makes sense from a business standpoint, but it also leads to other things that make sense short-term from a business standpoint.
Sure.
But the optics are terrible, like making sure that certain breakers get certain hits because you know where they're at in the product. And this is not a rumor. This is stuff that has happened. Like mathematical odds of things occurring that are just, you'd win the lottery 10 times before this occurred.
For me, it's not, do they hit a big card a bunch of times? Because if they're ripping through a bajillion cases, sure. But when we're talking multiple product hits out of the same break on release week, it's mathematically tough. I'll say this, though. Those breakers have like a 10 million % chance more than you and I do of hitting that because we're not ripping it.
Yes. But, and again, that's that whole feedback loop of it. And it feels, feels like what Fanatics is trying to do. And this is where I think this might be the best way to say this. And I know we've been beating a dead horse here for
nice short episode like we're hoping.
Yeah. It feels like, and this is, I think, where my core disagreement with the philosophy is. If you asked Michael Rubin off the record or the Fanatics board off the record, they would say, we would love for all consumption of our products to be done through breakers because they make the most money. It provides them the most PR opportunities to evangelize stuff. And I think that in their perfect world, that's what would happen because you don't have all these individual transactions. You're not sending one case of stuff to 2,000 shops. You're sending 500 cases of stuff to 50 people. And from a philosophical standpoint, I couldn't disagree with that approach more.
I don't agree with you, but I do think that it is largely there. I don't think they would say exclusively because we also see Fanatics making some investment in the LCS. However, it seems like one of the paramount focuses for them within the LCS community is aligning every single LCS with their values, their approach, their answer. And so any organization that comes in where there's new leadership in a new direction, 30% of people hate change.
Yeah.
And then if you affect their wallet in the first year, you're going to have a much higher percentage.
And when you basically say, we want you to be our franchisee with absolutely none of the benefits of being a franchisee.
Well, I'll tell you this, mega churches do this all the time.
Well,
with their volunteers.
We could go for another hour if you want to.
It's not for you to volunteer. We want you to embody the values that we project in the community and in our community. And I think that's some of what's happening. And I think my hunch is that they know there's going to be a turnover rate, but on the other side of that, the new LCSs will be trained through Fanatics School of LCS of this is how we operate. This is how we think about this. This is how we feel about this. This is how you be profitable. And the models that have worked so far seem to be struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
Having said that, across the country, LCSs are reporting some of their highest months
Oh, yeah.
in sales.
Yep.
Singles and wax.
That's
So,
why you said this earlier. We talked about this a couple months ago. Like, if all you're seeing about this hobby is what you see in your feed, the negativity, they're overprinting everything's going to go to zero. Those
it's all
guys.
junk. Yeah.
You're outside of reality. The reality is right now, like, we just had a show this weekend, and I think that we both thought that the turnout was a little lower than what we had hoped for. There were some reasons for that were outside of anybody's control.
We
really.
had like a tornado hit right when the show was starting.
Yeah, and a giant basketball tournament in the same facility the big day of the show. And there were still thousands of people there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there were still thousands of
and
people
even in the
there.
last hour of the show, I had a couple of bigger deals that, were really solid. So I would agree with you. It's funny. I didn't think I would find myself being such a devil's advocate in this conversation, but I just am trying. I think I want to understand why. And that's how my brain works. If I can understand somebody's reasoning, then I can decide what I don't like, what I do like, where it might be headed. But I'm a little worried for the LCS in all of this with the Topps Chrome release. That's the positive headline is people couldn't wait for it.
If
and
you're in
Topps
LCS,
products are back with football.
Yeah. If you're in LCS, Burbank Sports Cards has figured out how to survive all of this waves, all these ups and downs of the wax market and everything else. Focus on community, focus on singles, be a resource. Keith is at Newhart. This is one of their core principles. We want to be a place where somebody can come and sell us back the cards that they ripped if they want some liquidity, and we'll buy it all. Like, go through his value box, and you're going to see
buys stuff he doesn't want sometimes.
50 Skylar Diggins autos that nobody on planet Earth wants, but one of his customers had, and that customer has been good to him, so he bought the cards back from the guy.
Yeah.
Dick's House of Sports ain't buying your cards back after you rip those Topps Chromes. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're an LCS owner, focus on singles, focus on your community, focus on building
what
a
are
community.
You building? Yep.
Yes. Not how fast I can turn this wax, not how hard I can squeeze my margin on a given card in my showcase. If somebody comes into your shop every single week and they're buying from you every single week and they sell something to you, give them a little more than you would somebody else. And if they're buying every single week.
Yeah, go a little more aggressively. I'll say it like, if all you're doing is moving wax as quickly as possible, you're not making the connections in the community aren't happening, developing a new wave of collectors, adding value, providing liquidity, then don't be complaining about Card Vault.
Yeah.
Don't be complaining about these kiosk boutique.
Because that's what you're doing.
You're doing the same thing without the good real estate. You're doing the same thing without the brand of Tom Brady. And Fanatics is not going to continue to reward that. I think, here's what I'm hopeful of. Shops like Mars Cards, who has appeared to have made a very clear point of, we are here for our community. We sponsor Little League. We are everywhere. You're not going to get around this area of Cleveland without seeing us present in the community. Right. And I think if there's anything that can shift or encourage Fanatics to prioritize the LCS, it is them seeing that the LCS is partnering in a way to grow and evangelize the hobby. That's their goal. So if your shop isn't doing that, you're probably on a list somewhere. That's why they're doing the scoreboard. But I'm hopeful that that's something that Fanatics can realize, that there's a deep, long-term value in what the LCS can provide that a breaking room can't.
Yes. And again, there's nothing wrong with the card vaults. There's nothing wrong. We've got a shop here in Columbus that's along those lines. It's just not a place I want to go hang out and buy a bunch of cards. It's cool to go look at. It's cool to go see. If I go to Boston, or so when we go to Chicago this year for the National, I want to stick my head in a card vault just to say I stuck my head in there. But I'm guessing I won't buy anything.
And there's a card shop right next to Wrigley. How cool is that? Like, you think of like the dad that's taking his kid to the ball game, and then they hop in there and open a couple packs. I think it's brilliant. But I think the LCS can bring a value that I hope Fanatics doesn't miss out on. For the sake of the hobby, please don't overlook the presence in the local community that these relationships have developed for decades. That's the reflection too. The people walking in that have been used to being able to buy a box find out, oh, there was only one case and I didn't even get a shot at it.
Yeah.
And you could say, well, they could buy more. Yeah, they could buy it at $1,100 and sell it for $950. But that's sure is a tough way to keep giving fanatics money.
Yep.
You know,
and
you
I
can only do that for a while.
There's got to be a balance struck there. So, well, let's do this. We've been going for a hot minute. Is there anything else that we have to get to today? Or do you want to save
one thing that I love to do. It's because JT every now and then drops us out of the box of just his mindset when he's digging through boxes, looking for, some great value stuff. So I want to follow up there before we finish up today, because I think there's great value in it. JT Triple Crown 24 with Out of the Box.
I have 2 words that will make you instantly better at pulling cards out of value boxes. Pattern recognition. You see there, I set aside that Garrett Crochet card, and I've put in enough reps going through cards over the years that when I see a 2021 Topps card, I know what the base card looks like, and I know what the variations look like, even when they're very subtle like that one is. But that Crochet I ended up getting for only $2. It's only a $10 to $15 card, but that's still a pretty nice little find in a value box. The Garrett Crochet image variation, one of the favorites to win the Cy Young Award this year. But I don't know that if I'm not constantly going through those cards and seeing those images and then recognizing when something is different. Same thing applies here to this Mookie Betts Heritage card. I notice something is a little bit off compared to the card next to it, and that the position and the name are swapped on those two. That tells me that there's something different between these two, and sure enough, this Mookie Betts that I end up getting for only $1 is a position swap variation out of Heritage. I didn't know that off the top of my head, but I was able to recognize that there was a slight difference in those cards, and understanding that there was a difference in that pattern is what allowed me to identify that card. So you don't have to have all of these intricacies memorized in every given set. You just have to know when something looks off and to trust your gut when that happens.
All right. Thanks, JT. Be sure to give him a follow. Check out his YouTube. Again, I say it all the time. Very thoughtful vlog style. He'll pause in the middle of a transaction at a show and say, here's what I was thinking. Here's what they were like. Just, it really helps you think through your sales process, best practices. So definitely give JT a follow there. What do we have? If you're listening to this on Friday, on Sunday, we'll be at Grove City Card Fest. That thing is always packed, man.
Yep.
If you want to see a lot of tables, a lot of cards, and a lot of humans,
that's your spot to be
for you. Yep.
It's your spot to be. I really hope they have the AC cranking this week.
Yep. Coming up in May, we've got a lot. So we've got, I'll try to remember all of it. We got Xenia.
Yep.
We got Eastgate.
We've got
Shipshawana. We got me going on vacation. And then we got Midwest Monster.
Yep.
And then we've got Nashville.
Yep. And then we've got the National.
And then we've got the National.
Yep.
And then there's a few other cities we're traveling to outside of that. If you guys have a show and you'd like for us to attend, reach out. We've been starting to get messages for that. So if you want the Ballcard Show to come hang out with you, shoot us a message. Tell us about your show. We do have a pretty full schedule, but we are, again, trying to branch out a little bit.
Yep.
So if we could target travel a little bit, we'd prefer it's a larger couple of day show if we're going to have to, haul it and expense all that. But reach out. We'd love to support you.
We're also, quick announcement for the summer. We are shifting our Sunday Whatnot show from 4:30 in the afternoon till 6:30. I think that we've been running into a few traffic issues, and I don't think there's much to that other than it's a really nice outside and people are spending time with their families doing things during the day on Sundays. There's no football to sit down and vegetate to all day. So we're going to push back to 6:30 and see if that helps things out. So make sure you check out our Whatnot stream. If you haven't yet, you can scan that QR code. That's our link tree. It's got our Discord there. The Discord is hopping. We've been getting some great feedback there. Yeah. It's not a place where anybody's trying to sell you anything. Nobody's trying to push cards. It's just a community where like-minded collectors and dealers can hang out, ask questions, talk to each other, and just build that community. Give this video a like. If you haven't yet, subscribe. It helps us out a ton. Anything else, Jason?
I don't think so. You did a great job there.
Look at me.
This has been the Ballcard Show, the sports podcast
for the sports collector.
Bye now.
Peace.